All right. Call to order the Democratic Caucus meeting of June 7th, 2021. Roll call. Angie Goro is present. Dorothy Red, I'm here. Angela Fellers, I'm here. Jaime Salgado is present.
Yes, sir.
Dave DeSoni is present. Tim Neighbors looks to be present.
Present.
You hear Tim?
Yep.
Okay. All right. This week, not that she's here, but Angela has the prayer, like Angie said. Let's go down. What do we got? Approval of minutes for May 13th, 21, and May 27th of 21. We got a number of appointments. We got County Administrator appointment, Deb Crozier, Winnebago County Human Resources Director. And I think she's doing a pretty good job. And she's going to work on getting her HR certificate. So that's a pretty important thing for myself, because we went a long time with a former human resource person who didn't have a human resource certification.
I have a question on that.
Yeah.
Is 18 months too long to wait? Shouldn't she have it sooner than that?
Well, I spoke about that today at the meeting with the chairman and Patrick, and he's going to talk to her and try to get it moving along. And I don't know if he can move it along any faster. I don't know if the time is because they have to wait for the test, or if they have to wait for classes, or what. I don't know exactly what the reason. Oh, Dorothy Red is now present. Hi, Dorothy. So that I did bring that up, Angie, and I stressed the importance of it. So I don't know if 18 months is a long time necessarily to have it or not. It seems like it, but they're going to talk to her, and hopefully we can figure out a way to get that moving.
And the other thing was that position. Have we heard any further on the lawsuit that Kim has against us?
I have not heard one word.
Okay.
I have not heard one thing.
It's something that maybe Patrick can look into it for us.
Yeah, I haven't heard anybody even bring it up. Or okay, so we have the reappointments we have are for New Milford Fire Protection District, and that's going to be laid over. Rob Sickler, Cherry Valley Fire District to be laid over. William Lefevre. They're all reappointments. Rebecca Ihne reappointment, and Carl Erickson reappointment. Any concerns, questions about those appointments?
Nope.
Right. Jaime, you want to start out with finance? Oh, Jaime, when the meeting's over, I got a very important topic to talk to you about. It involves a Bush League American League baseball team called the White Sox or something like that. So don't sign off until I talk to you about that, or when you sign off, call me.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
Well, I'll get started, Joe, if you don't mind. So for finance, we had a meeting last week. There was various topics that we talked about. One of the first ones is obviously this notion called contract labor negotiations. So essentially, there's two. There's a resolution and there's a budget amendment, essentially in that relations. So essentially, the state's attorney presented to us about the contract negotiations, that he would like to hire outside counsel. They've already reached out to the firm, one of the better ones in our state and then nationwide as well. So they want to do the contract negotiation, having the outsourced by legal counsel, so they can focus on other things, which is kind of, since Mr. our previous state's attorney's office kind of, we've seen folk leave and stuff like that. So that handled the labor negotiations for that. Right now, they're looking just for the ASME contract that's coming up due in September. So they're going to focus on that primarily. I asked the question, is it just a one-time thing? Is it going to continue to happen over whatever, how many years? According to them, it's just for right now, it's the ASME contract, with the coordination that up to 3 years, essentially, that they want this to go forward. So that's the number one, the resolution, that one. And then obviously there's a budget amendment for that because it's going to cost us money. They're saying it's in the ballpark of $30,000 to $100,000 maximum. This is for the ASME contract that they're trying to negotiate for this September. So that's the two-prong approach. One is the resolution, just the agreement, to essentially go outside for legal counsel for the labor negotiations. And then obviously the budget amendment of in between from up to $100,000 essentially. That's what they're looking for, what that's going to be, the expenditure for that. So does anybody have any questions on the outside legal counsel for contract labor negotiations?
The only thing I can say, it's about time.
Yep.
Our state's attorney's office, we have very adequate people, but they are all so busy and going 20 different directions at the same time that I don't want to see these things go on for 3 and 4 years and then they're retroactive. In the long run, they're costing us more money than if we hire in somebody, get the job done, and let's move on. That's my feelings on it.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions or comments regarding those two items?
I guess I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
How many people are they short in the state's attorney's office?
I have no idea how short they are. I know that, they're trying to hire more people, but from this standpoint, essentially they don't have the expertise, when it comes to contract labor negotiations.
Oh, really?
Since there's two folk in there, Charlotte and, that kind of left that were doing that. I know Mr. Gilberti was doing some of that as well, but now he's
Kurlinkus did a majority of it.
Yeah, Kurlinkus and Charlotte and obviously Mr. Gilberti, but unfortunately, Kurlinkus is gone now, Charlotte's gone, so it's really the expertise has gone away. Essentially what they're saying is that it's going to pay off in the long run. That's what they're banking on, that the negotiating, these legal counsel, outside legal counsel, that's their bread and butter. So they're going to be able to somehow show some savings of some shape or form on that. And it obviously it relieves some stress on Mr. Gilberti and some other folks within the state's attorney's office to focus on, they're saying that there's more cases coming through from the COVID, and we can't really talk about it because that would be a closed session, but so there are some things that are coming down the pipeline that they need to focus on. And so one of the critical things is trying to get under the belt outside legal counsel for the contract negotiations.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. If there are no questions, I'm going to move on to the next two.
Jaime, if I could, Jaime, I guess.
Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you. It's Dave Tassoni. And I say, this is just my own personal opinion. I just got, I'm not against it, but I just have concerns that when an attorney takes on the case,
I ain't trying to turn away on.
Okay, Dorothy.
If this thing here comes on, then he'll.
I just talk louder. How's that? I just have some concerns at how long they're going to drag it out, because when they're done with our case, they're out of a job. So what's the incentive for them to be prompt and not charge us up the hill, That's all. I just like to see it be prompt.
And you're right, Mr. Tassoni. One of the concerns I have too is, well, for how long are we keeping them on board? Is it a one-time, two-time deal? Do we, and so that was one of the questions, because they're like, oh yeah, it's going to cost us from anywhere from $30,000 to $100,000. which is fine. But at the end of the day, you know, if we're going to do it for every contract negotiations, you know, obviously that's going to continue to increase. Not saying that, you know, it's every 3 years for the ASME contract, but, you know, there could be other ones that, you know, are in line that we need to look at. So those were some questions that were brought up, and the state's attorney kind of took it back, and, you know, they're going to get back to us as well and be as transparent as they want, as they can be. But there are some concerns for that as well.
I'm glad I'm not the only one thinking of that. But and then, like I said, I mean, 30 to 100,000, that's quite a big spread. And maybe it's a point where we look at what can we do to help fund the state's attorneys for someone that has expertise in that field. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Salgado, this would be a good footprint for us to see how this works, and see if it's something we do want to continue, because this is a one-time shot right now, as I recall.
That is correct.
And then that way we can judge from that point on what we need to do.
Correct.
Jaime, before you go into item number 4,
yep.
I would just like everybody to know that be careful what you say. This is a litigation tape, so we don't want to make any comments that they can use against us. So just let's not get too far into this.
Right. So just real quick, item 4 and 5, you know, as kind of Joe kind of alluded to, there is a settlement in the amount of $174,000 and change to essentially settle with Mr. Ballinger on the old trustee program as our agent. So that's coming before us. One's just an ordinance, a resolution, and the other one is an ordinance for the budget amendment to make the payment. Essentially, it has to get through the county board in order for it to be finalized on that. So we talked that in closed session. For those that weren't there, just reach out to Joe, myself, or whoever was in there for the details. But it essentially is a settlement in the amount of 174 and change. 174,000 and change. You know, we can get into the details, but like Joe said, really not obligated to speak in open session about that. So those are the 2 items regarding that. And so hopefully that will move us on to, you know, our regular trustee program with regional plan for that. So, so that's good news. It's been a long coming for that. So I just wanted to make that note on that. I'm glad that's all coming to a close for that. So the next item too, there's approval of budget amendment for self-represented litigant grant, and that's to be laid over. This is from obviously the court system. Mr. Tom Jakoway talked about that. Essentially is just giving a grant that they got. So about $12,300 or give or change. You know, and it's a total of the program is $18,000. But essentially it's money to be used for the public defenders and obviously anything that has to do with representing at the court level. So it's a grant that they got, so there's no impact to our budget, which is good news for us to at least have some money for some of the litigants that are out there. So that's really what that grant's all about. And then obviously there's a resolution approving workman's compensation settlement in the amount of $77,000 and change. This is for Robert Reed versus the County of Winnebago. It's a prior one. We've talked about it in closed session. If you need additional information on the workman's comp, just reach out to me or Joe and we'll walk you through on that. But it's just a regular workman's comp that we've decided to settle on that one. Those are all the items that are currently in finance. So I don't know if you guys have any other questions regarding that. And one last thing is that everybody, I believe, should have got an email with, well, should have saw the agenda for, there was financials we went over with our CFO, Mr. Rickard. He walked us through a River Bluffs position currently and where we're at. We did like a 5-year projection based on his assumptions about revenues and about accounts receivables, the aging of it. So good discussions on that. more to come to have more discussions on River Bluff, but he also gave a quarterly presentation of where we're at. We're on track for our financials as a whole, where we're going to end up at the end of the year. There are some concerns with sales tax money that is kind of low right now, and so so there's still some concern with the sheriff's department where they're actually spending a little bit more than they should be. But one of the things that they keep saying, the CFO and the sheriff's department, is that the federal inmate program is bringing a lot more money than they anticipated. So it kind of covers some of that offset of the spending. But according to Mr. Rickard, he's been in the communication with the sheriff's department to let him know that he is overspending on certain areas. He's ahead of overspending, and trying to let him know that he needs to monitor and what they can do to essentially return that back to normal, so no, spending becomes normal. But yeah, once again, they're saying that the federal inmate, they're bringing in more. So, I mean, I guess that's how they're justifying some of the spending that's going on over there at the sheriff's office. But overall, in all, it looks like we're on trend. However, just with the sales tax, there are some concerns with that. It's coming in a lot lower than expected. But once again, we're on track. He feels pretty confident that we should be able to end up where we anticipate of ending up at the end of the year. So good stuff, good review. If you have any questions regarding that information, if you haven't seen it, let me know. I can have Mr. Rickard send that information out to you guys. Essentially the summary that he provided to us, both for River Bluff and our positions for that. So for our whole county as a whole. And that's all I have, Mr. Hoffman.
Thank you. Is there anything else that anybody wants to hear from Jaime, or are we all good?
There's only one thing I want to ask, Jaime.
Yes.
We do need a policy on how we delete our old accounts that are 15 years old. Does that go through you? Does that go through our caucus? Who do we get a hold of to do that policy?
So how it works, Angie, is it's a two-pronged approach. One, I know there is a policy out there, but I don't think it's obsolete for now. But one of the things is that Mr. Ricker and our external auditors need to sit down and create that policy internally to see how we're going to tackle that. Obviously, it has to come through finance just to make sure that any change to our our auditing purpose or our internal policies have to come through the finance committee. It's just a legitimate, that's what we typically do. If you recall I don't know if you're not on finance, but we just passed the policy, the budget policy internally about, I want to say a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So a similar thing has to come forward where, we describe what our aging policy for accounts receivable is going to be. How do we write off? What's our percentage and when do we write things off? But foremost, the CFO has to sit down with our auditors, just make sure that, we are filing GAAP principles, general accepted accounting principles. Once that's done, then obviously the policy will come before the finance committee, and then obviously as completely, to the county board as a whole as well. So that's standard procedure. I know there's one out there, but it's obsolete and it hasn't been followed for years. So I was just kind of thrown back that our auditors haven't really, put that on our radar as a recommendation. Maybe it has in the past, but I haven't seen anything regarding that in their notes when they do our summary at the end of the year, management letters that we receive saying
we get the radar.
Yeah, I know. And so that's why I'm saying I'm just kind of shocked that I know they bring it up where there's some cash flow issues potentially, but really they don't speak to the aging of the accounts receivable, which is kind of weird from my perspective, carrying a huge dollar amount out in our balance sheet, which kind of would raise some flags from my perspective. But yes, Angie, to answer your short question, you know, it has to go through the CFO, presents it to finance, passes through finance, and then obviously the county as a whole.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Zoning committee. Angie, can you cover that?
There's nothing going on right now. We don't have a meeting until Wednesday. Let me see, what's the date on it? Wednesday the 23rd.
Okay.
And
All right.
there'll be several.
Okay. Economic development. Tim, you're Dorothy.
No report.
Okay. And that was quite the duo there. Operations administration. Dorothy?
Hold on just a second. I don't have air at my house.
That's not
Ooh,
good.
it's hot. I'm sorry. I interrupted the meeting a few minutes ago. You guys were talking. Hold on, let me pull it up. Is anyone else there?
Well, you were Jaime.
Oh, Jaime, were you at the meeting? Oh, these people come out here and it's not the air. It's, the power. Hold on, let me pull it up. Let me see here.
Yeah, you're talking about operations there?
Yes.
Yes, operation administration.
Yeah, so the what we talked about, there's a resolution that right now is kind of pending in regarding urging the General Assembly governor to assist counties required to meet the deadlines for reappropriation of county board districts without updated federal census data. But I believe he signed a bill
I think so.
extending the dates or whatever. So I don't know if it's still going to go through, but it's something that we wanted to do just to urge the governor to essentially say, hey, you know, we don't have the census data, so we can't redo the redistricting and stuff like that for the elections. So it's kind of like we were trying to urge him to kind of get something going. So essentially, because everybody's going to be up for election coming up in the next term, so it kind of puts everybody in a bind. So that was essentially that resolution that came about, but I don't think it's going to happen anymore because I know he signed a bill. It was on his desk, you know, and he signed it. So we should be good going forward with that. The other one is a resolution authorizing the execution of a renewal agreement with Swedish American Health System on the on-site wellness center services. So it's essentially, once again, we're just renewing for our wellness center that we have out there with Swedish American. They continue to do it for us. I hear good positive things about it. I hear that they're one of the cheaper ones for the program to be executed. So essentially it's an extension of the agreement that we have for the wellness center. Those are the two things that came out of operations that are scheduled for this Thursday. So I don't know, Dorothy or anyone else that was.
No, that's about it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got you, Dorothy.
Okay, that was about it. I finally pulled it up.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
Sorry, Dorothy, didn't mean to cut you off. Do you have anything else?
No,
questions.
that's it.
Okay. All right, want to move on to Public Works, Mr. Tassoni?
We have no report, Mr. Chairman. Our next scheduled meeting will be on the 15th.
Thank you. Public Safety, Angie or Tim?
No report.
No report.
Okay. Any other unfinished business that anybody can think of? Any new business? Anybody have anything else they want to bring to the committee before we sign off? I have one last thing that I want to, and I wish Angela would have been here. The Republicans are meeting live. Where do we all stand? Let's take a quick vote to see where we stand. Do we want to go live next time or do you Zoom, or what's the feeling? I would prefer to go live myself.
I would prefer Zoom because I'm having a problem with my knee.
Okay, so I'll take a roll call. Angie, live or Zoom?
It's time to go live.
Okay. Tim? Tim, would you rather go live?
I don't have anything at the moment.
So do you want to go live or stay on Zoom for committee meet for caucus meetings?
Can we do both?
It doesn't matter to me.
Okay. I'll put you down as a yes for live. I don't know if we can do both or not, Dorothy. I can ask. I don't know. I'll ask because the Republicans went live today. Jaime?
I'm the same way. You can put me down as live.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah, I'll go in person. I just a couple comments too, if I could.
Sure.
You know, what just drives me up the wall about not being fully live at board is the roll call on everything we do.
Yes.
I mean, that adds for lengthy, it's a lot. It's a lot on the clerk. It's a lot on us. A roll call on every gosh darn thing we do. I mean, a roll call on suspension, a roll call on the motion, a roll call on the resolution. That just wears me out. But I do like the fact of committee meetings being Zoom because I can attend every one of them at home, versus scheduling and going downtown. I mean, it's helped me a lot over this COVID and being on Zoom as far as being able to be a part of finance and zoning and operations because, I think that helps everybody with a lot less questions at caucus and board. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I think, in person for board, I mean, mainly so we can get over all these roll call votes.
Yeah. And I don't know how long, because that's mostly county board, what you're talking about. But, and like I say, the Republicans are down in our meeting room tonight on the 3rd floor. So, I'm just wanting to know, and I think they're doing a hybrid of even on their caucus of live and Zoom, but I just see that Zoom is going to be gone here pretty soon. So,
Joe,
yes.
My suggestion is let's go to, we should be on the 5th floor because we have half of what they have. And they can spread out.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care what floor we're on. It makes no difference to me. I just was saying they're down there on the 3rd floor. And to be honest with you, if they would have asked me prior to this, I'd have had to give it some heavy thought to go in live. But since they didn't call me about it, I thought, well, that's good too. That way I can ask the caucus what they want to do. So it's not just what I want to do, it's what everybody else wants to do too.
I do like our private caucuses so we can kind of talk when we want to about different things.
Yes.
And that's why I'm suggesting to start with, I'd like to be on the 5th floor. Let them have the 3rd floor. They can spread out. We can spread out.
Yeah.
And we get further into this COVID, and then we can trade places again.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. Why they took the 3rd floor, I'm not sure, but I don't care. I mean, I'm fine with the 5th floor. So most people are live then. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to say next time I'm going to suggest that if they call me and ask me live, I'm going to say live, and I'll find out from the other side if they did live and Zoom for this meeting tonight. I know I think they're still going to do it for the county board meeting though. All right.
Joe, still with David, I like the committees being on Zoom. I was able the other night to take part in the 2 committees and right here and not having to be there. So the committees, I'm with you, David. I like them on Zoom.
I will propose that and tell them your feelings. I don't have a problem with that. I agree that, it gives a chance for everybody to tune in. Whether they want to keep doing the Zoom is another question. But I will bring that to the chairman and the other people that are involved and see what they say. Okay?
And Joe, if I could just add to that, maybe and I don't know about the IT and the Zoom stuff and all that, but maybe it's not necessarily a Zoom, but a live YouTube deal for public, for committees. I don't
Well,
know how that works. And
yeah,
just-
it's the concept, right? It's however they do it.
yeah, it's the concept of being able to watch it at home when you
Right.
know, not necessarily going down there. And the other thing is I don't know who on here has all been in the boardroom, but running the hybrid on Zoom and in the boardroom, it's painful.
It is.
It's very
Oh, yeah.
painful about things going on in the back room, people not being on mute, people that can't hear.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it does make it very cumbersome.
Yeah, it does, and that's one of the problems. But I do understand the idea of being able to at least drop, even if you can't answer, but to drop in on the meetings and hear what's being said. So I don't see anything wrong with it. But I'll bring that up. Don't be afraid to ask yourself if you happen to run into any of the powers to be about that. But I will try to follow up on it. So otherwise, I'm gonna go with the idea of going live for our caucus meetings the next time. Anybody else have any questions on that? Are we good with that? Okay. There are some, we have some appointments that we go over the appointments for the New Milford Fire Department, Prairie Valley Fire Protection. Did we go over that already? I don't want to repeat it.
Yes, we did.
Okay. There, we got everything else done. There was nothing public safety. I guess that's about it. Anything anybody have they want to add to it besides about the live and the Zoom part for the meeting? Anybody got anything else? Okay. With that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Jim, and second by Mr. Tassoni. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will see you all Thursday.